Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask George to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Abadili.
Present.
Foster.
Present.
Gilmore, present. Hearn.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Tangney.
Present.
Sam Poole will be joining us later. Administrator Darcy Carley.
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
Agent Ed Hoops.
Present.
And Assistant Emil Singh.
Present.
We have a quorum. The floor is yours, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March the 12th, 2024 at 3 p.m. on the applications of Mystic Lake Hills Civic Association, Thomas Roberts, Osterville Bridge 198 LLC, Town of Barnstable. The hearing will be held remotely as televised on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email requests to Darcy Curley at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This meeting is being recorded and transmitted on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting or not. If so, please make your presence known. Hearing none. This afternoon's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed by the governor on March 29, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised via the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2. Real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 874-3930-8056 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email the comments to darcy.curley@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. This afternoon, under the old new business, we have one item, Donna Lawson, to present the Long Pond Community Garden Committee and the report and the review for 2023. Donna? Do you want to unmute yourself, Donna?
Unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I don't see you though. I'm here to update you on the 2023 garden. We had a successful season. We had gardeners had lots of produce, and if you read the report I sent, we delivered to the veterans program, outreach program in Hyannis, and they give food out on Thursdays. So I would deliver it on Wednesdays. And every week we delivered flowers from the garden, at least a couple of times a week to the Barnstable Adult Social Day program. So we had, we had a good season. We had no problems, no theft. The gate was never left open. We really enjoyed our season. I don't think we're going to need a dumpster this year. I walked the property this morning, and there are some areas some things that I think that we can get out of there and just take to the transfer station. I think Sherm Hamlin, he does our tilling and he turns our compost pile, and he mows around the gardens for me a couple of times this season. And I walked it today, and there's only a couple of small shrubs that I'll have to cut, and he should be able to get around without any problem. And last year I mentioned we had an issue with our irrigation that was sticking out of the soil, and I had Bartlett water department come out and look for it. They maintain our irrigation, and he said he would send me a quote, and it was for $750. What they were going to do is build a berm where the U hedge is, where the drive is, and then beyond the U hedge. And when I looked at the $750 estimate and I looked at the work, I figured I could do that myself. So I would take 5-gallon buckets from our compost pile, and I made a berm. So it saved us money. And you can see, when I was up there today, I realized I'm going to have to add more to that berm. But at least the water now, instead of going into the garden area, is now going down the path towards the parking lot. So does anyone have any questions?
No, thank you for doing that. It saves the money. Anyone has any questions, Louise?
You said you didn't have any problem with theft. Have you
No.
had any problem with animals?
No, we really don't. We have a few rabbits, but for the most part, people have fences, and it doesn't seem to bother anyone. No.
Okay, good. Good for you. Nice report.
It's so much fun just to be up there. It's a great setting. We have some wonderful people who garden with us, and it's an enjoyable place to be. So
Right.
Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner? None? Thank you, Donna, for the presentations.
Welcome. Have a good day.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We have 2 extension requests. The first one is David G. Moga, SE3-5740. John, this is the first request. Is John with us?
Don't see it.
him.
No. Normally, we would approve the first request anyways. So could I have a motion to approve the extension request?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Agney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
The second extension request is Normal Property, LLC,
Phone number.
S3-5849. And again, this is the first request for the 3 years. So could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Abadili. You're
Aye.
muted.
On mute.
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Agney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Before I go to the enforcement order, I am taking the certificate of compliance out of the order and do it right before the enforcement order. And you notice that this afternoon we have the whole staff, 4 of them, with us in the hearing. And this is Emil's last conservation hearing. He'll be leaving us by March 21st. And thank you for your service with the Conservation Division and commissions.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that, and thank you to all the commission members for their service to the town of Barnstable as well. It's been a great time working here, and
Yep.
I'm lucky to work with great staff members here.
Thanks. Let me read that into the record. The certificate of compliance is Blue Sapphire Family LP SE3-3843. And Emil?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I have one COC recommendation for you this afternoon. I'll share my screen. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
All right. So today the COC recommendation is for SE3-3843. This is an order of conditions that was issued back in October 3rd, 2001 to Robert A. McGinn Jr. The original permit was for construction of a pool, guest cottage, septic system, parking and driveway, utilities, and landscape improvements at 405 Seaview Avenue in Osterville. So this plan, this project was revised many times over the years. I could see on the plan it was revised at least 10 times. And Sullivan Engineering and Consulting Inc. was the consultant and engineer for this project. The property was, at some point transferred over to Blue Sapphire Family LP, and they're the ones who kind of finished out the project. In 2017, there was a final plan revision in January 16th, 2017. During that hearing process for, the plan revisions, the applicants agreed to propose 5,500 square feet of wetlands enhancement, including Phragmites control and additional mitigation plantings in the buffer zone. And that was submitted in a cover letter by John O'Day, Sullivan Engineering, dated March 31st, 2017. And it was discussed on April 11th, 2017 by the Conservation Commission. And that letter was stamped as an approved plan for the project. So the commission may remember they had issued a second enforcement order to this, the owner, Blue Sapphire Family LP. It was the second enforcement order that had requested them to submit the certificate of compliance request because obviously the project being issued in 2001 has expired. I believe there was quite a few extension requests, but the project is now expired. So the consultant, Sullivan Engineering, submitted the COC request February 12th of this year per the enforcement order that was issued. So this is the approved plan of record. Like I said, it's January 16th, 2017. So you can see on this plan, I'll go to my next slide. It's a little bit closer zoomed in. The main part of this project is in the middle here. It's the pool and the pool patio. So that is located, as far as I could tell, only a corner of it is within the 50-foot buffer. The rest of it is located within the 100-foot buffer to a BVW that runs pretty much all the way to the south of the property and the single-family dwelling. The rest of the project was this accessory structure known as the cottage. It's probably the largest cottage I've ever seen in my life. And the mitigation for the project was just a small portion of buffer zone planting, as well as, like the letter said, they were planning to do wetlands enhancement by treating the Phragmites. So this property has an extensive wetland system to the south and north of Seaview Avenue. And at least the portion of that wetland to the south of the property is quite infested with the Phragmites. So here's some near map aerial images of a property before and after construction of the pool. The wetland you can see to the south, and it has quite a bit of Phragmites going on in there. So here's the property after the pool was constructed, and as we discussed, the enforcement order that was issued by the commission was for the applicants to submit the COC request. So I went out to the site on March 5th of this year, and I noticed some deviations from the plan, including driveway expansions in several locations on the far side of the cottage, and also a small parking area on the east side of the property. The mitigation planting that was proposed for the project in this area was never done, and the patio for the pool appears to be, a slight amount of square footage larger than it was originally proposed. And finally, the pool equipment was located within the 50-foot buffer, and there appeared to be a small pipe that at the time that I was on the site, that could be, I wasn't sure if it was like draining some kind of, something from the pool equipment into the wetland, but there was a pipe coming out from that was a little bit suspicious to me. But I guess the bigger issue with this project was that the Phragmites remediation that they had offered and the mitigation for the project was never completed. And that's the kind of stuff that we as staff members were really looking for, the applicants to be completing these parts of the project when, we have stricter regulations regarding, buffer zone improvements within expansions of hardscape, I should say, within buffer zone. And so the pool and the pool patio, as well as the pool equipment, is all within buffer zone, and so we would have expected some kind of mitigation for that. So my recommendation for the commission today is to deny the COC request for the failure to provide the proposed mitigation on the wetlands enhancement. I didn't have as much of an issue with the size of the patio. It's kind of all within lawn area there, and with the pool equipment, I think, as long as they're not actually draining stuff towards the wetlands, it's not really a huge issue. But I think that area, that square footage increase should be, accounted for when it comes to that mitigation. So my suggestion is that the commission issue the enforcement order that Ed will be discussing with you after this, and that would, require these parts of the project to be completed according to the approved plan. And so I just want to make that point that staff is trying to make sure that the mitigation requirements for the disturbances within buffer zone are strictly adhered to. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Emil.
And just real quick, there's a picture of the pool equipment.
And Bill, can you go back to the slide that you're showing as a circle that is in questions? And in particular, I have a question about that accessory structure. What is that red circle reference to?
Sure.
What kind of work is extra or is added or what? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so you were asking about this one up to the north?
Yep.
Yeah, so that area was not supposed to be part of the driveway according to the plan. The driveway was supposed to come, through here, and I believe they're actually supposed to remove this side of the driveway according to the approved plan. If we go back to the approved plan, you could see that the driveway kind of comes up and there's stone parking area in front of the accessory building, but it doesn't actually wrap around to the side of the building.
Okay.
And then in this area, it says, it's a pretty complicated plan, but it does say remove gravel drive and plant lawn in this location. And so I wasn't sure if that was really referring to this, whole section of the driveway, but that's kind of what I figured would make sense. But I think it may be the case that, it's a little bit negligible either way. They kind of cut the corner of the pool area here, and so they could continue the driveway through there. But that was what that was referring to.
Okay. Thank you, Emil. John?
Emil, staying on that picture, could you roughly
Sure.
run your pointer over the 50? Just roughly, obviously.
Yeah, so the 50 comes down through here and kind of cuts across the corner of this, fence area,
Right.
and then it runs down along the backside. There's also a wetland here, so it kind of comes up in this side of the property. And again, there's also a wetland across the street, but that's the 50 is really kind of along the street here.
So the big building, it looks like or something where you get the little arrow. That building at the bottom right there, that is the main house.
Yep, so this building in the lower half is the main house. And according to them, this is the cottage that I mentioned was probably the largest cottage I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That helps. Just a technical point. You said the plan dated. You're evaluating the plan dated January 17th, but you mentioned the letter of March 20th of 17. So I assume you're incorporating that letter in the certificate of compliance review, correct?
Yes. Yeah. The letter was stamped as an approved plan after that hearing. And that's kind of where they were offering that additional 5,500 square feet of improvement of this wetland. I'm guessing they're kind of referring to this piece of the wetland here because this is really the bulk of the Phragmites. But I think, that's going to be up to the applicant how they kind of propose to work that out.
What I just want to clarify for the record is that the certificate is being reviewed relative to the plan of January as amended by the March letter, for the record, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. And final question, obviously I saw John O'Day is around. At some point, have you had response? Is John O'Day still the applicant's representative? And if so, what kind of comments or feedback or response have you had before we get to Ed's enforcement?
Yeah, so we had discussed at the time that John submitted this, his request. He had mentioned even in the letter that the mitigation wasn't completed, and that it was his understanding that the applicant is committed to working with the engineers, conservation staff, and Wilkinson Ecological to bring the site into compliance. So that was what he, mentioned, that his clients are, considering, working with Wilkinson to offer that.
Okay, so to the best of your knowledge, the applicant is willing to respond to these deviations from that plan in that letter, but Ed's going to discuss it in more detail in enforcement. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, thanks, Emil. Thank you, and best of luck in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Louise?
John covered my questions, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other question from the commissioner? None? Could I have the motions to deny this COC?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Where did George go? George, you're muted.
Yeah, unmute
Yep,
yourself.
I got it. Abadili,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have two enforcement orders. The first one is Rebecca L. Moore, trustee, and 149 Grove Street Realty Trust, 149 Grove Street, Contuit, map 019, parcel 022, alteration of two wetland resource area, vegetated wetland by cutting a tree and flood zone, by cutting trees and regrading, and alteration of the 50-foot buffer to a wetland resource area, vegetated wetland by cutting trees and regrading. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was brought to me just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anybody's been out to or gone by the area. It's not too hard to see or find. The area has been pretty much completely denuded all around the entire parcel. I did receive an anonymous call about 2 weeks ago, alerting us to some land clearing activity that was going on at this parcel. Just so you understand, the property had just recently sold. Rebecca Elmore is the trustee, and the 149 Grove Street Realty Trust that is actually owned by Mr. Sean O'Brien. So we have everything up to date in terms of the owner. Mr. O'Brien actually bought the property probably within the last, I guess it was about the last 6 weeks or so, just after the first of the year. He had at the time when he bought the property, the previous owner had already started some of the tree cutting that was going on within that 50-foot buffer. You'll see in a next slide or two, you'll see some of the trees that are down there. So he purchased it halfway through. He continued to do the clearing, then thinking he didn't realize he had any responsibilities under wetlands protection to come before us before that. It was a disturbed buffer prior to his purchase of the property. You can see the aerial photo. We're talking about a relatively, it's probably an old bog of some sort or another. It definitely has bordering vegetated wetland along the edge of it. And then all of the area where the impact occurred is also within flood zone, which is this pink area. The black line shows the approximate 50-foot buffer to the resource area, to the wetland area. Again, this is an aerial photo, so this was taken in April of 2023, a little bit less than a year ago now. You can see there are some. This was during the prior owner's occupancy. You can see several trees all along the 50-foot buffer have already started coming down. Again, a disturbed 50. The dashed line represents just a very rough approximation of where the wetland boundary is. And then again, the solid line is a rough approximation of the 50-foot buffer. I will say that Mr. O'Brien has been extremely cooperative with us. He did not know that what he was doing was forbidden without permits. He just assumed that everything was okay based on what the previous owner had been initiating. He has worked, I would say, diligently to correct the situation right from the get-go. Within 4 hours of me talking to him, he had already had arranged for Mike Ball to come out and do a wetland delineation, and Mike is here to help him throughout the rest of this enforcement process on the restoration. Just so you understand, this is the whole backyard. It's like, again, it's pretty much denuded of any vegetation. The pink flag here in the lower right-hand corner of the photo is the 50-foot point of the 50-foot buffer, and some of the red arrows are just marking portions of the wetland boundary. And then just gives you an idea of what's been going on. There had been a fair amount of land moving and regrading that was going on. It was the previous owner had certainly done some pushing of vegetation and leaves and yard debris, that sort of thing, toward or into the wetland, which you can see here. So here again, here's the wetland line. The wetland is over here. It's been filled a little bit with the landscape debris. There were quite a few trees that were cut. In total, I haven't done a full measurement, but it seems as though it looks as though there is about 85 to 95 inches of trees that have been cut by the current owner. All of the work that was done was actually the clearing and cutting was done by Peter Gavoni, Land Services, who had done all the cutting and regrading a portion of the project. I have spoken to Mr. Gavoni and have issued a non-criminal citation for him as well. What we're trying to do then is obviously restore the 50-foot buffer. They will be coming before us with a enforcement order response plan. We are all trying to move this along pretty quickly. Like I said, Mr. O'Brien had been very quick to hire people on to get the work started and to resolve this as quickly as possible. It's his idea as well as mine that we could hopefully get everything done and planted in the ground by June 30th at the latest. Earlier would be better. So he will have a full growing season this coming summer for those plants to take hold. And so basically, in terms of the enforcement order, we're just asking for the typical restoration plan, showing all of the different areas, resource areas, as well as property lines, asking for a demarcation along the 50-foot buffer, and again, native plantings. All of this will it goes on extensively with our conditions. They will certainly be back with us, hopefully within a month or so. A little bit more with the enforcement order response plan, and you'll be able to take a look at see what they're planning on doing in terms of restoration. Again, just wanted to again applaud Mr. O'Brien. I wish he hadn't done it. He is the same way. He wished that he had known better. But he is working diligently, working towards resolving and getting this restoration underway.
I see Mike is here. Mike, do you want to say anything? Thank you for working with Ed on this project.
Of course. Hi, everybody. Mike Wolf, Marsh Matters. Nice to see you again. I apologize for my video. I'm not trying to hide my identity. It's bad. When the light is behind me. I'm still bald, in case you were wondering. Yes, still bald. So I got a call from Mr. O'Brien. I went right out there because he was clearly pretty worried about the situation. I was out there on the 22nd to photo document conditions, identify the BVW boundary. It is a abandoned cranberry bog, but in my opinion, pretty obvious wetland when you get near it, having the ditches and the water on the surface. As Ed explained, it is a denuding. It's when I was there, most of the stumps had already been removed from the ground and in a pile. I took a picture of the logs that were waiting to be removed, and I counted about 20 trees. I don't know if they had already removed some or not, but that might be the number of mature trees that were removed. Of course, there would have been some amount or a significant amount of understory vegetation, as you can see from the photo. So Greg McDougall.
Sorry about that. Just having a technical issue with the hearing room. So we're just recording a backup on here. Thanks.
So I can continue?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay. Any other question for Ed, Commissioner? None? Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
And I just want to take read the non-criminal citation into the record for now. Is Peter Gonvani, alteration of wetland resource area, flood zone and buffer to a bordering vegetated wetland at 149 Grove Street, Contuit, for $200. The second enforcement order is Bruce Safari Family LP and Robert A. Megans and Ling Charles 405 Seaview Avenue, Austerville, map 138, parcel 204, failure to comply with the plan of the record and the order conditions, mitigation planting area lacking, SE 3-3843. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, there's not much to add here. You have seen all this with Emil, so I don't have a lot of extra spit and shine here with this one. We have been this has been a long-standing issue. It has had several enforcement orders against it, against the property. There has been a rather lengthy history of extensions that this project actually started back in 2001, if I remember correctly. And so we did issue an enforcement order, just trying to get them to issue or request the COC, which they have done. At the time when we were discussing, we had some other complaints about almost a year ago now, maybe a little less, where we had met on site with the homeowner, and then both I think it was Chuck Rowland at the time, as well as some members from Wilkinson. So we've all sort of gotten on board with what we're trying to do here now. What Emil was asking for was and the reason why he was denying is we were just too far apart in what needed to be done still, because everything has expired. But I felt that this is the best way to move forward with being able to get the work done, so that the COC can be issued and we can draw a close to this whole process. There are other things that the homeowner would like to start working toward as well, but we're trying to get this resolved before they move on with that. Again, so all we're asking at this point is having the engineer, John. I've already spoken to John. Again, we've gone through a couple of meetings now between Sullivan and Wilkinson and myself. We, I think, are all on the same page. The homeowner is committed to doing the work necessary so that they can close out the order of conditions, receive a COC, and move on from here. I think John has already been out. He may or may not. I think he had, if I remember right, he'll have to correct me. He does have most of a existing conditions plan set and ready to go. But the enforcement order is asking that we get an existing conditions plan, and then for you to allow the wetland enhancement portion of the project, so they can finish that. After they send a wetland restoration, wetland enhancement plan, that work be allowed to continue and be resolved under the enforcement orders, which is why we've issued the enforcement order in the first place. So I think that if Sean has anything else to add, and if anybody has any questions, I can answer those. And I think we're finally all on the same page here with this. So we're moving forward.
Thank you, Ed. John O'Day, do you want to say anything regarding to this enforcement order?
I really don't have anything to add. I missed the first couple of minutes of Emil, but I think that this is the process that's been outlined and we've been chugging towards for a few months now, of submit a certificate of compliance, even though we knew it was not in compliance, and outlined what was not in compliance. And that got us to the point of being able to start talking to Ed and have a Wilkinson start working toward a plan. So I think that for a number of months now, we've been on the path and making progress towards bringing this to conclusion.
Thank you, John. Thank you for working with Ed Wilkinson for this enforcement order. Any questions from the commissioners to Ed or John? Louise.
I just was wondering, has it been the same owner all this time since 2000 or 2001 when the project started?
Yes, it was a husband and wife. There has been a divorce recently, but it was, yes, same couple.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner? Got to have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck. We have one request for determinations. Mystic Lake Hills Civic Associations, stabilization of wooden retaining wall, repair of access stairway, and landscaping at 30 Sawmill Road, Marston's Mill, as shown on the assessors map 063 parcel 062. Dave,
Yes, I'm here.
welcome.
Good afternoon. Dave Crispin with the BSC Group, civil engineer and a land surveyor. We were engaged by the Mystic Group there. Actually, last July, we went out and looked at it shortly after you folks gave a negative determination to put beach nourishment on their small beach. And they were concerned about fixing a retaining wall. I've got a couple of slides I'll show you.
Yeah.
And back at that time, the discussion about replacing the retaining wall or just burying it came into play. And we thought, because we had permission to put 15 yards of sand on the beach, we basically doubled that volume and bury the wall, and it's gone and it's not a problem. So let me, if I can share here, I think I can.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. This is you. And we will do slideshow from the beginning. Very short slideshow, but just so we all know where we are. This is Mystic Lake. We're on the west shore, right down in this little corner down here. And this is the project area in a nutshell. The gentleman is walking on the beach that was determined they could nourish basically 6 or 8 inches of sand over the beach. And this is a very poor failing retaining wall that allows them to have a little flat patio when you come down the walkway to where they can stock their kayaks and whatnot. So, my sticky fingers. My thought on this was to take the wall and just bury it with a 2-to-1 slope. At that time, I thought we'd use the same sand as the beach. And I think during an initial discussion on a previous RDA here, you thought it might be better if it was done with a loamy sand. I have no objection to that. It might make the plants grow better. So that's that is what we work to, and this is just a screenshot of the CAD file so you can see it a little better. The retaining wall, 2-to-1 fill. There's a set of stairs in there, which basically gets built into that set of fill there. Erosion control, we did stake the high water mark of the lake, and this is standard conventional erosion control. We did supply a planting plan with you for the work area, which includes several shrubs and several grass planting things for dry conditions. And the biggest trick is, how do you get the fill down to the foot of the hill? And I think that was your part of your concern last time we talked about this. And we did measure it. We can get equipment like this down the hill and back. And then, as I'm thinking about this, this is a relatively steep hill. This is a 20% grade for a lot of it. So I am thinking probably the best way to do this, and we like to leave this to the contractor as to what equipment to use, but the best way in my book would be one of these small gators. Fortunately, going downhill all the way. So the only significant erosion thing is trying to drive back up it, or a small track mounted machine. It's going to need several trips up and down to do this job.
Right.
So we've proposed the erosion controls, and I would suggest that this would be done during a projected dry spell. If you've got 4 or 5 days when it's not going to rain, I think the whole project will take less than 4 days basically to do. And as they go home every night, you put a layer of erosion controls every 50 feet or so back up that 200-foot path to the top of the hill. Other than that, once it's graded in, you can plant it and be done with it almost at leisure, but I know they want to get done with this and have it ready for summer. So there is some desire to get this going. So with that, I will leave you with questions, and that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you, Dave. Any question from the commissioner? Bill?
Yeah, I think this is a much better plan than the one that you had, in that you've got a lot of vegetation being planted on the loam / sand. I had 2 concerns. One is the bobcat, or the erosion, and you've addressed that. And I don't know if I believe it or not, but I guess I want to believe you'll not create too much of a mess doing that. The other concern I have, though, is that in trying to establish 16, you had like 16 shrubs and a whole bunch of grasses of one kind or another that's going to go on that fill. That's important vegetation for stabilizing the bank and creating a filter for dirt and whatnot running down into the lake. And I trust that the group, the Mystic Hills group, wants to protect and be good stewards of Mystic Lake. And yet you have the kayak rack there, a beach, and I'm thinking, what's the long-term survivability of this vegetation that you're planting? Is it possible to put some kind of, like, I don't know what, some little fence that might, and I realize this is an RDA and it's hard to put in conditions, but to the extent that you can protect that vegetation for the long term, that's what I would hope for. I'd be, with all the kayak work and people getting their kayaks, using the beach, I could just see that whole place just getting stomped to death, and then it just becomes not a vegetated buffer. Thank you.
I will offer my simple solution for that. And I tell a lot of people I have my best ideas at 4 o'clock in the morning. If they were to run a string of fence posts across the top of the slope, and a simple rope across the top, I think that would probably serve the purpose. And we stop the rope when it goes across the stairs, so you're pretty much forced to go down the stairs instead of playing jump rope over the rope. And it doesn't block any views. It doesn't change anything. But it's a simple, cost-effective solution.
But that is not part of this project. You haven't proposed it, right? I mean, that's.
I don't. I mean, you just brought this up tonight, so I mean.
I hope I do. That would work. I mean, just keeping people from tromping right through that vegetation would be
Yep.
really important, I think. Thank you.
I think, and the other thing is this is going to be relatively steep. I mean, most people should not think about tromping down there.
Yeah.
No, but that's a good idea though. Luis?
Let's see, if you look at your drawing, it really drives home the point that you're giving up half the beach. Now, the beach itself is man-made. It's not what was there originally before man touched the area. But I just think it's important for us to recognize that that's a pretty significant alteration to the area. It's not a small thing at all, in my opinion.
If this wall is about 3 feet high at its max, a 2-to-1 slope's only 6 feet from the wall.
Right.
That beach is about 20 feet long from the wall now to the high tide line. So I mean, they acknowledge that it's going to make the beach a little bit smaller, but there's just a cost-effective measure to eliminate that safety concern of a wall that's falling down.
Right. I think it's wonderful, in fact, that something's happening there. But if I just look at the drawing that you have on the screen, it says that half the beach is going to be taken up by burying that wall.
Yeah, and I will point out one footnote. We did not do a full instrument on the ground survey for this. We took your GIS information, and if we go back, whoops, I lost my screenshot there. If we go back to the picture, this picture here, this orange, pink stake is the high tide mark. The normal water level is another 6 or 7 feet down to the edge of the lake. And if I was to estimate what a 2-to-1 slope, the top of that 2-to-1 slope is going to be like right here.
Okay, so you're saying that the drawing is
it's not precise. It's
right?
not precise. It's not precise.
It's not precise.
And I don't think, honestly, from an engineering perspective, to bury this wall, I don't think you need a precise drawing.
Yeah.
Well, I just wonder if you might want to. This drawing is going to go into the file, right?
It's already in the file. Yeah.
Of the applicant, assuming this is a positive, a negative determination, this is going to go into the file.
I'll give you another example. This stair is flatter than a 2-to-1 slope, so the top of that embankment is going to be right across there.
Okay, so that that's fine, but I think that the drawing ought to be altered to be more realistic in terms of what you're proposing. That's all.
Thank you, Luis. Angela?
Yeah, thank you. Also, there's stairs on both sides. You're only referencing the stairs on the left, but there's actually stairs on the right side that you're also burying, correct?
Yes, there's a set of timber stairs over there on the right side.
Yeah.
But they aren't discussed at all in this plan?
At this point, if they're available to be saved, they can be saved. But if they're going to be buried, they get buried.
So the whole front will be sandy beach, eliminating the stairs on the left, but you're going to save the stairs on the right?
The ones on the right are the ones that are least used. They're in fact quite overgrown if you were to look at them.
Correct. They're in bad shape because I did walk this. It's extremely steep there, and those are the ones I wouldn't use, are the ones on the right that are over by the vegetation.
I would say these are a history. They'll be buried over and gone.
Yep.
Okay, so they are part of what you want to put under the stand. Thank you.
Correct.
Yep. Thank you, Angela. Any other questions? None? 10:18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So
Second.
Roll call.
Lee.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye.
Foster.
Abstain.
Gilmore. Aye. Tangney.
Abstain.
Abadili.
aye.
That motion carries.
Abstain.
Oh,
Pete's here.
Yeah.
And I can't vote because I just got on.
Got it.
so welcome Pete at 3:58.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
All right, thank you very much. Nice to see you.
We have two NOI. The first one is Thomas Roberts, Osterville Bridge 198 LLC. Rent an existing garage and apartment, replaced with new flood compliance dwelling, landscaping and driveway modification at 2298 Bridge Street, Osterville, as shown on the assessors map 093 parcel 037. Arlene?
Good afternoon. Arlene Wilson, A.M. Wilson Associates here for the Roberts. This project is to raise an existing garage which has a one-bedroom apartment over it. It was authorized with an order of conditions in 1982. That number was 3-851. The existing building is clearly not flood code compliant, and we want to replace it with a new one-bedroom dwelling, which will be flood code compliant. And there's also extensive landscaping, as I think you have been able to see. I will try and share my screen. Everybody cross their fingers.
Yep. Thanks.
There we go.
Yep.
So the existing building is here. The proposed building is here. The site is about 1.25 acres, and it's on the southwest side of the channel accessing the Oyster Harbor's drawbridge. The property, as you can see, has two buildings on it now. The one that sits at the water's edge, as I think most of you are aware, is the old oyster shack. It was built around 1895 and is listed by the Mass Historical Society. The easterly shore has the benefit of a bulkhead, which runs all the way down like this. And in the northeast corner of the property, there is an existing boat ramp. The entirety of the site is within a velocity flood zone. I've colored that line in yellow on this plan. I know the site plan is a little busy, and it was hard to see that line, but essentially everything here is within a velocity zone with an elevation of 14. Which is proposed to be replaced, and the proposed building are both more than 100 feet from the wetland resources, excluding land subject to flooding on the site. The site's not mapped by Mass Natural Heritage, and it's not restricted under the Coastal Wetlands Restriction Act. Because the site is rather busy, and I'm good. There we go. What I did was to take a relatively recent aerial photograph to compare with a colored rendering of the site plan, which was done before the plan was finalized, which is why it's marked preliminary. You'll notice the proposed garden in this area is not shown on this plan. But I wanted to give you something to see the difference between the existing site, which is almost completely either grass or asphalt, with the proposed project, which is going to remove over 6,500 square feet of asphalt in favor of plantings. Much of the plantings along the west property line and the north property line will be tall shrubs and trees with additional shrubs around the proposed building. The existing asphalt parking lot, which you can see here, runs essentially to the walkway along the top of the bulkhead, is going to be cut back to here. So this portion of what is now asphalt is going to be reinforced grass, fescue, in case they need to get at the bulkhead or to have overflow parking. They'll be able to park on that grass, which is why you don't see it full of shrubs. It's predominantly a maintenance thing. I think the other problem you were having with the plan in terms of what's a grading line and what is a driveway line is the fact that the existing asphalt driveway is going to be taken up and replaced with tire strips that will be gravel or shell. And those strips will have some grass in between, so that significantly limits the amount of driving surface on the property. So essentially all the asphalt that's on the property now is going to be taken up in favor of materials that will have at least some drainage capacity. There's also a small area of asphalt and deck on the west side of the oyster shack that's going to come up in favor of plantings as well. The end of the boat ramp here is now paved, and then there's a flat stone at the water's edge. This section of the boat ramp, because it needs to have a firm surface for driving on a slope, will be replaced with a cobble with grass in the interstices. There's going to be a small organic garden, and I bet I can't get back to that, but let's see if I can. Nope, that's not going to do it. Wrong way. There. And now.
Rotate.
Yep. Bear with me, guys.
You're back.
So there's an organic vegetable garden that's proposed in this area now. That's partly within and partly adjacent to the extension of the existing asphalt driveway that runs down to the house on the next lot, which will be the subject of an RDA in a couple of weeks. But in any event, that was the thing that doesn't show on the colored landscape architect's plan. We would like to have a wire fence around the vegetable garden that extends to the ground. I know that is not normally a feature that the Conservation Commission likes, but clearly keeping the little critters out of the vegetable garden is important. And the area is only about 1,000 square feet out of an acre and a third, where you are getting back significant vegetative cover. So the decrease in hardscape in the 0 to 50 is 1,871 square feet. There's also a decrease in the hardscape in the 50 to 100 of 451 square feet. The new dwelling has been designed to be flood compliant. Let's see if I can get to there's the foundation plan. So it has pile supports, and in between the pile supports, there are breakaway panels. Those panels, and you can see on the renderings, have stone facing. The a little more elaborate than you're used to seeing on breakaway walls. Nevertheless, they are indeed breakaway walls and comply with flood code requirements. The bottom of the carrying beam is set at 2 feet above the flood elevation. So the flood elevation is 14. The bottom of the carrying beam is 16. The finished first floor is at 17. The existing building is at about elevation 7, and it has a grade on the east side that's about 10 feet. So so here's the existing building. This is the 10-foot contour. So the new building has to be about 6 feet higher than that 10-foot contour. And because of that, I'm trying to get back to that site plan.
While Aline is trying to get back to the previous site plan, I just want to mention that because the existing drawing is kind of very busy, it doesn't show the proposed grade clearly. So I'm asking for an engineering plan showing the proposed grade, and it's less busy trying to see what that change is. I know there's a certain retaining wall around the building to get the grade up, but on the drawing itself, it's not quite clear. So.
Yeah. So what I am trying to do is to get rid of the gallery. There we go. Now I can do it.
You want to rotate?
Sorry. There we go. And if everybody doesn't get dizzy. So I'm sorry, Tom. Your question was you were having trouble with the grade?
I have trouble reading the drawing for the proposed grade that you have. It's very faintly in terms of the line work. It's very on a light gray line. It's very difficult to read. Even I take off my glasses, it's tough time to read it.
You and I are having the same trouble these days about glasses. Okay. So what happens here is that in order to make it look as though the building sits in the landscape, what's being proposed is a fill area around the building, but there's a retaining wall here. The retaining wall top of elevation is 14.25, just above the 100-year flood elevation. So the fill goes up to the top of that and then flattens out around the building. This is an access for stairs, and so you can see on this the way the landscaping works around the building, and the access to the lower level where they will still be storing canoes and kayaks perhaps lawn furniture. But that's the only thing that's below the flood elevation. The utilities are all above. And it was suggested that that was an odd situation and the commission hadn't seen it before. This is the house at 59 Short Beach Road, which is also entirely in a floodplain. This is what that building looked like before the commission gave a permit and it was reconstructed to meet the flood code. This is what it looks like today. And you can see that fill and stone retaining walls were used to try and make it look as though it was settled at least a little bit into the landscape.
Are you all set?
So almost. The site also uses propane for heat. And the propane tank shows on the existing survey plan. It's an above ground tank. So what's proposed as part of this project is that the tank will get buried and ballasted so that in the event of a flood, it won't float away and become a time bomb as such tanks occasionally do. Darcy had asked me to talk about how this met the commission's policy for projects within land subject to flooding. I guess I would remind the commission that there are court cases that say the commission is not supposed to regulate based on policy when you have the ability to propose regulation. And I don't know why your flood policy wasn't adopted as a regulation. It was originally proposed that way. But what it says is that you're supposed to elevate properly, which we do, and that you're supposed to make sure that whatever you're building isn't going to increase the likelihood of flooding on a butter's properties by increasing the velocity or potential velocity of floodwaters. Here, because we're adding all of the tall woody vegetation along the north and west property lines, that will act essentially as a wave break in the event of a flood to slow the velocity waters and make sure that it isn't channeled off-site into an abutter's property. I think there are a few other benefits from the project, and they include benefits for drainage and pollution control into surface waters, removing all of the asphalt, all of which unfortunately at the moment runs into the coastal waters, is going to not only increase significantly the potential for on-site infiltration of surface water, but also to reduce the amount of surface drainage that can be laden with pollutants from vehicles and landscaping that is going into the coastal waters now. We are proposing a wire fence along the north property line. That one will be set 6 inches above grade and hidden in a shrub hedge so that wildlife has passage underneath. As I mentioned before, there's about 6,500 square feet of asphalt that'll be reduced or taken off-site in favor of new plantings. That's a significant wildlife benefit, it seems to me. We've also proposed a couple of fat boxes in some of the trees on the south end of the property that can act as natural mosquito control. And since we have some vegetated coastal wetlands and a small shallow salt pond at the extreme south end of the site, that kind of thing is important. It'll reduce the likelihood of anybody wanting to use chemicals on the site for that kind of control. And with that, I will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Arlene. As I was mentioned, that we'll need an engineering plan to show the grading and to show this the structures and the things about your fence, wire fence, and all those things, and removing all those plantings. I mean, some of the planting that you showing just to minimize so that we can read the plans. And secondly, your engineering plan need to be stamped and not by landscaping architect. Is this engineering stamp plan?
Yeah, if I might on that point, Tom, because I work with landscape architects a lot, and landscape architects are allowed under registration laws to do site plans like this. The commission has allowed site plans by landscape architects before, most particularly in the Tongue project. John's shaking his head. It is in the Tongue project at the end of the road, and very recently at a project on Long Beach Road, where the only site plans were from landscape architects. I'm not going to dispute that you can require an engineering site plan, and we're happy to provide one for this. But I do want you to know that you shouldn't disparage landscape architects. They are allowed to do this work.
I think the difference is the complexities of the plan before us. So what we did in one may not have an impact in the other. I think Tom's request is more than reasonable.
Yeah, because it's so complex in here, and it's just supply the engineering plan. The other comment that I have, and I just noticed this morning, is when I'm looking at the plan, and if you look under your plan, there's a box called a fixture box, a fixture schedule. So there's like 43 lighting fixture proposed on site. That's a lot. And you need to show that on the engineering plan. Right now on this plan, I have a tough time trying to find out all these lights.
You understand that those are path lights. So they're downward directed in accordance with the Conservation Commission's guidelines.
Well, to me, when I look at that schedule, I don't have a clue of how many watts are they. They just have a brand name label and stuff like that. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I don't know what kind of lighting stuff in there.
We'll get you a couple of catalog cuts.
Yeah, please. Question from the commissioner, George.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, Arlene, the only other thing I noticed, and I don't see a label on it or anything, and it didn't exist. It looks like there's a gate leading down to the boat ramp on the plan.
Yes, that's proposed gate, George.
Okay, I didn't see it anywhere proposed in the description. Yeah. Okay.
There's another one at the west end of the driveway where the property line runs.
Yeah.
So we'll get those properly labeled.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question from the commissioner? None. Arlene, when do you think that you will have the engineering plans ready?
They told me I could expect to get it Friday. The question is, how long do you need it before your next meeting? And
I would say at least a couple of days. Friday.
So your next meeting, I think, is the 19th. That would give you the weekend and Monday. The next meeting after that, I think, is the 2nd of April.
Do you want to do the 2nd? Because that would give you a little bit more time, just in case the engineer cannot give you the drawing. Right. I know how the engineering works.
Clearly, the client would like this as soon as possible, but I suspect that the 2nd of April is probably realistic.
Okay. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to continue this application to April the 2nd?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Pagney,
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arlene, we also need the paperwork for the continuance. Right, Darcy?
Yeah, I'll get you a
Yes, thank you.
signed memo.
Thank you. The next NOI is Town of Barnstable to bring the Haywood Road McCarthy Landing waterfront facility into regulatory compliance by relocating floats, establish a reconfiguration zone, improving accessibility to the public facility, and performing maintenance to the existing piers, gangways, floats, and piling at 40 Haywood Road, Centerville, as shown on the Assessors Map 1X6 Parcel 056. And this is, what is it? Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy Packard with Both Infrastructure here on behalf of Town of Barnstable. Thank you, Chairman. I'm here tonight to talk about the proposed work at the McCarthy Landing at the end of Hayward Road, located on the Centerville River. So this is an existing public boating facility. It's comprised of an existing timber pier licensed through DEP Chapter 91. And there is an existing string of floats that they use now for dinghy docks, as well as a harbor master's float closer to the channel. The end of the pier is located right on the maintained channel that's maintained to a depth of -6 mean level of water. This project started as the town intending to bring the project into full compliance. I mentioned that there's an existing Chapter 91 license for the pier itself. The floats, as I understand, were not licensed. I don't know the history behind that, but the project started as the town intending to bring the full facility into compliance.
Did you want to share the screen with the with your view?
Absolutely.
All the drawings.
All right, everyone see that?
Yep.
Great. So it started as a project intent to bring the full facility into compliance, and the full intent of the project is improving the accessibility, safety, operations, and performing some pier maintenance as well, all under the same file number. Abutters have been notified, and the project has been assigned a file number SE3-6163. So what we have proposed is to relocate the existing. There's one float located at the end of the pier here. This is used by the harbor master, and the intent for this is to rotate it 90 degrees and locate it and relocate it slightly towards the channel to open up a little more space on the landward side. The existing gangway used to access that float will be relocated along with the float itself. And for this, we propose a 4.5-foot offset from the maintained channel, just to allow enough room for a vessel to pull alongside without encroaching into the channel. And then the dinghy floats are in rough shape anyway. So the town is proposing to fully replace those floats. And as you can see, the intent was to keep the same distance from the pier, thereabouts. So the length of encroachment to the east here, to the northeast here, we tried to maintain that distance there while replacing the floats themselves. So in order to bring the facility into compliance, we surveyed the ocean floor here, and we moved the floats seaward until we're able to achieve the 18 inches minimum of clearance under the floats at all tides. So using the mean low water datum, and we shifted these floats basically until we're able to achieve the 18-inch minimum. DMF has provided comment, which is anticipated, not entirely, this is not a surprise, that they would prefer 30 inches of clearance under these floats during all tides due to the shellfish habitat. And that was, when we're laying floats out, that's always what we try to achieve, is that 30-inch clearance, whether the shellfish or not. In this case, we're able to maintain the 18 inches of clearance, which is the guidance required under Army Corps regulations, as well as the Mass DEP small docks and piers guidance. But the 30 inches of clearance would require additional encroachment seaward and would further reduce the distance between the harbor master float and the dinghy floats, and would really foul up operations here. We just feel it'd be too congested and there wouldn't be enough room to really properly move vessels around safely in this area. So the new floats proposed to replace the old dinghy floats, again, maintaining the same length. We have improved accessibility by proposing a new 30-foot gangway coming off of the existing pier. This new gangway was the reason that we are proposing to increase the width of this first float you see here. So that 8-foot float width will allow space for the gangway to land and still allow for some accessibility on this side of the float to allow the dinghies to tie up and people to walk back and forth in order to be able to get onto the gangway. To accept that new gangway and provide accessibility, we propose some framing improvements located on the off the existing pier. So just two additional piles, framing improvements, and that will the gangway will be attached to that platform there. So that's the floats themselves. On the pier, we're proposing, we performed a structural inspection. There's typical maintenance work that has to be done, stringers, some deck boards, cleats, some of the bracing, some of the pile caps are split. It's just typical pier maintenance that needs to be performed. No expansion, no major improvement there as far as the framing goes. And then we're also proposing low profile solar deck lighting, just small deck lighting in between the pile vents. And that's just to allow for safety and visibility at all times. And finally, we have the float reconfiguration zone. So the float reconfiguration zone that we have proposed, a little over 3,300 square feet. We have proposed that to be offset 25 feet from the extended property line of the abutter to the north. And that's per DEP recommended guidance. And then it is pinned seaward by the channel limit and landward by water depth. And that's how we ended up with this reconfiguration net zone as shown. There's currently no plans for anything different than what is shown here as far as float reconfiguration. I've worked closely with the harbor master and the town engineering department to develop these plans. We went through an iterative process of a couple different alternatives included in the write-up. And right now, this is the configuration they would prefer. And the reconfiguration zone is simply to allow them to make some modifications in the future with no additional impacts, no additional square footage, and no encroachment outside of this reconfiguration zone without having to go and fully re-permit and relicense the facility. So impacts are to land on erosion, land containing shellfish, entirely from the proposed piles. Everything is pile supported. I already mentioned the DMF recommends 30 inches of clearance and explained why that is a challenge in this facility. Even with, I would just like to point out, that even with the 18 inches of clearance, that's at mean low or low water. So that's worst case scenario throughout the year. Almost all the time, it's going to have, these floats will have greater than 18 inches of clearance. And the Harbor Master's float has, I think, close to 4 feet of clearance shown in the cross section at all times, including mean low or low water. So what we have proposed here is really an improvement over existing conditions in all ways possible in terms of regulatory compliance, operations, safety, accessibility. It's really just a net improvement to the town public facility. And then finally, I would just like to mention that this project was authorized by the Waterways Committee on February 27th. And we will also be seeking, we've already submitted the applications for both the Chapter 91, the updated Chapter 91 license, and the Army Corps permit. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jeremy. There is a revised plan dated March the 7th. And on that revised plan is showing the existing float square footage and the proposed square footage. So the difference between the existing dinghy float and the proposed dinghy float is about 82 square feet. So that brings from 332 from the existing to 414 square feet configurations. As far as the Harbor Master float, it stayed the same as 160 square feet. Jeremy, I know you just mentioned about the solar lighting on the lights along here. Can you send us a cut sheet on those lighting? We just want to make sure that it's kind of meeting our requirement from our dock and piers regulation stuff.
Tom,
Yes,
on that same issue, can I just, the solar lighting we usually require on-off times, is that going to be a concern? Then, so I'm sorry to jump in on you, but I had the same issue.
The on-off times, my only concern with the on-off times is that people are using the facility at all hours. You know, you have nighttime fishermen, right, and these are all important reasons why the lighting is proposed in the first place, is to allow people to access and navigate the pier safely, when it's dark out. So that's my only time with the on-off. That's my only concern with the on-off. They are intended to be, these are not, massive globe street lighting. They're intended to be low profile, just enough to allow users of the facility to walk safely on the pier itself.
And again, I apologize, Tom, for not raising my hand, but I know that when you raised this issue, I know in prior hearings many years ago, Peter Sampu always raised concerns about this. So maybe with the specs on low wattage, et cetera, Peter would be okay with this, but I sure would love to hear his comments at the appropriate time. I'm sorry again for interrupting, Tom.
No, that's okay, John. Luis?
Do you have bathymetry on this area?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yep, shown on the plan.
It is shown on the plan?
Yep, yeah, we've got, there's contours, and then the cross sections do show existing grade of the substrate.
Well, when was that bathymetry done?
We did that survey as part of the project last October 2022.
Okay, well, we usually ask for a more detailed picture of the area rather than kind of contour lines. You're talking about 18 inches underneath one of the floats you're moving and so forth and so on, but you really don't have data that that describes that particular area. I would think you would want to have that.
We do. So the contours are shown on the plan, labeled -6, -7, -5, -4, -3, -2, all the way up to mean low water. We have the topographic contours shown. And then we provide the cross sections, which show that existing grade, which was surveyed again last October. I mean, we could add spot elevations, but we have provided the bathymetric data.
The spot elevations are what we are used to asking for.
Typically, we have the spot elevations around the float area so that we know how much water depth's in there.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we can add those.
Peter.
Yeah, so thanks for teeing it up for me, Avo. We have here a project for the public good. So this is not a private dock for a private homeowner. So I think at times when it serves a public good, we are more understanding in variances, etc. With respect to the lighting, I agree with you, John. There can't be too much light, but I think low wattage, if it is identified with down, a low wattage down facing light, you got to be able, I'm a fisherman, you've got to be able to walk safely on this dock in the dark, whether you're leaving at 3:30 in the morning or whether you're coming home at 10 o'clock at night. So I fully see the need for some kind of low level lighting almost 24 hours a day. I mean, there's people who could be out there even in the evening. Again, this is not a private dock. So I think that kind of understanding is something that me as a commissioner would accept. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Louise, I saw your hand raised again.
And at the same time, with Pete's description of what we need, it shouldn't be lighting that shines in the boaters' eyes as they're trying to, berth their boat.
Again, I'll jump in, Tom. I think Peter's description was good, as long as it satisfies those requirements and would also meet the concerns just mentioned by Louise. So.
That's why I kind of asking for a cut piece on the lighting, because I have no clue on what kind of lighting is being proposed here.
I think that's a great issue you brought up.
Yeah. Bill?
I'd just like to extend Pete's logic about the fact that it's a public facility and that there's a net benefit for the public. I think that somewhat extends to the argument about the depth of water, where the marine fisheries is looking for the 30 inches. And I think, they're not able to meet that. And normally we would be looking for a 30, assuming that there, is good shellfish habitat there. But I think I don't have a problem with that. So I would use Pete's logic to extend to that. That being said, one question I have is, the Shellfish Committee for the town, they used to weigh in on projects like this. Are they no longer functioning, or have they weighed in on this? Tell me about that. Maybe you would know, Tom.
I have not seen anything. Jeremy, did the town go to the Shellfish? But I know this project has been in front of the waterway, and the waterway has approved this project.
Right. But in terms of the shellfish habitat, I mean, when I think about this area, it does not seem like really high grade shellfish habitat.
Yeah, no, we provided the application, we provided the information to the Shellfish Constable, and did not receive any comments. And like I said, that passed on the Waterways Committee.
Okay, thank you.
George?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo the 18-inch clearance. That dock's going to be primarily dinghy docks to access moored boats anyway. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
I appreciate that point. You'll have more than 18 inches of clearance at mean low water under the vessels themselves. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you did say mean low, low, didn't you?
Correct.
Mean low, low. It's designed at mean low, low. Yep.
Right.
Okay. Any more comment from the commissioner? 10:18. Any public comment? I saw one only.
Yeah. Ole, if you want to unmute and give us your full name and address and along with your comment or question.
Sure. So my name is Ole Thorpe. My wife Margot and I live at 41 Hayward Road for for the summer, essentially. It's a year-round home, but I just have a couple of questions to make sure I understand what's being proposed here. It's my understanding from the conversation that there's no work being done on the west side of the public boat pier. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so all of this is on the east side. The next question is there any work being done in connection with the public parking area?
No, we propose just a small 900-foot staging area just at the end of the pier in that parking lot while the work is happening. But beyond that, no work is proposed. No permanent work is proposed in the parking area.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the timing for this and how will it affect this summer's use of that public boat ramp?
We're not expecting it to affect the summer's use at all. We just filed the Army Corps and Chapter 91 permits. There's a bit of a lead time on that. The hope would be that we get to, we wouldn't have any interest in constructing in the summer months anyway, right? That we just understand that's when people are using the facility. So we would look to likely get this bid and constructed prior to next season.
Yep, thank you. And then really my last comment is just as persons who have our own walkway to our public dock, which is at the foot adjacent and just to the west of this boat landing. The concept of solar lighting or some other lighting, I think is absolutely essential. We watch that place just because we live on top of it day and night. And there are many, many boats coming in at 1 a.m. in the morning. It's surprising how many people come in late at night. Mostly people who've been to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard and are coming in late. But absolutely, I support some sort of lighting on that thing that faces downward so it isn't facing up and just creating a large, ambient air. Overall, frankly, I'm very happy to see this improvement, and I think it'll be beneficial for the public.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Channel 18, any more public comments?
Seeing none.
None? Let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plan showing spot depths, water depths around the piers, and the submittal of the solar lighting cut sheets for review and approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Yeah, before I vote, George, that motion bothered me just a little bit, Tom, because we don't want something just showing what the lights are. We want to make sure that those lights comply with our normal low lighting or some other words. In other words, I think this issue is critical enough that they don't just show what the lights are, but they show what the lights and must be
in compliance with our docks and pier lighting regulations.
We don't have regulations for lighting.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't. I don't believe. Oh.
Yeah, we do.
We do. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the path.
So I'll amend my motion to include essentially downward facing lighting consistent with our policies.
Low voltage downward facing.
Yeah.
So amended.
Thank you, Pete.
We need a second.
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 Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Kanye.
Aye.
Lampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Good luck, Jeremy.
Thank you.
We have one continuance. Let me read that in the record first. Town of Barnstable, DPW, treatment of 77 acres of land underwater with aluminum compounds to inactivate phosphorus in subsurface sediment and reduce cyanobacteria bloom potential in Mystic Lake of Raceland, Barnstable, as shown in the Assessors Map 062 and 083. And this is a continuance from last Tuesday.
And Mr. Chairman, everyone's eligible except for Angela.
Okay. So I did my homework and I'm going to read to you the conditions that I am drafting, and then I can go back to Amber and Darcy and see whether there's any additional comment. Obviously, I'm going to you guys to see whether there is any additional comment too from you. So the special condition for this project is as follows. 1, phosphorus inactivation shall be in accordance with the approved NOI and order of conditions, as well as the license to apply chemicals, and will be guided by the best management practices and supporting information for this technique, including an average dose of 25 grams per meter square with a maximum dose of 50 grams per meter square at the chemical ratio of 2:1 for alum and sodium aluminate to maintain the pH between 6 and 8 SU, and will target sediments located at 7 feet and deeper. 2, applicants shall submit the following information to the Conservation Commission as part of any phosphorus inactivation program prior to the implementations. A, the safety data sheets for each chemical to be applied and the expected quantity to be used. B, a list of all project participants with contact information. C, dates of expected applications. C, the maps for the location of staging area. 3, the application and monitoring of the alum treatment shall be conducted by a professional with at least 3 alum treatment projects experience in Massachusetts. The resume shall be submitted to the Conservation Administrator for review and approval. 4, the time of the year restrictions shall be between April 1st and June 30th, then September 15th and October the 15th. An appropriate monitoring plan shall be coordinated with Amy Cotto and Chris Nappy of the Town of Natural Resource. Otherwise, that would be it. 5, the monitoring plan and the reporting shall be referenced to Section 6, the proposed monitoring plan in the NOI project narrative. 6, appropriate measures shall be taken to minimize the chance of any product, fuel, or any other related spills, and to ensure that there is adequate spill control devices or techniques are available. 7, the Conservation Commission shall be notified immediately of any leakage of contaminants and spills. Leaks must be cleaned up immediately and the waste material must be disposed properly. 8, the Conservation Commission, DFW, also known as the NHSP and the DMF, will be notified immediately if a fish kill occurs. A fish kill of defined as 100 dead fish of any species or 50 dead fish of any one species detected within 24 hours of any treatment. 9, the treatment will not occur on any days when weather conditions prevent accurate delivery of the phosphorus binding to the target area. This usually translates into days with wind speed of more than 20 miles per hour. 10, the applicant shall establish the limit of work to access the Mystic Lake with the conservation agents. The applicant shall be responsible for repair any damage or soil erosions resulting from the mobilizations and demobilizations. 11, additional conditions shall be referenced to the list of conditions provided by NHSP letter dated March 1st, 2024. 12, additional conditions shall be referenced to the issuance of the DEP number dated March 6, 2024 for that particular one, I am thinking about that sentence. They make a reference on that issue, and is the Conservation Commission's please note that per 310 CMR 10.53 A4A3, the project is to be carried out in accordance with any time of the year restrictions or other conditions recommended by DFW. That's my conditions, and I think Amber has a chance to look at that draft. Amber, do you have any comment on those conditions?
No, thank you, Tom. I have no further comment on those conditions. Thanks for the opportunity to review.
Thank you. Darcy, any comment from you?
Thank you, Tom. No, I support them as read into the record.
Okay. Commissioner, comment. I saw Bill's hands up.
Yeah, Tom, I am missing something. I looked at 310 CMR 10.53 4A3, and it specifically says that it should be carried out in accordance with any time restrictions recommended by the DFW. And that is something which is specific to something called an Ecological Restoration Limited Project application, which is a very small subset of projects that we see. And the letter we got from the Marine Fisheries says no treatment activity should take place from September 1st to November 15th. That seems like a recommendation. And I guess I'm just missing something. It seems like when we got that thing, see, I was advocating at the last meeting that we, ignore marine fisheries in this situation and go with October 15th. And then on the following day after last week's meeting, we get this thing on March 6th from DEP, and it quotes this really obscure thing that I never heard of, which is that clause related to ecological restoration limited projects. And I'm thinking, are we in saying it's okay to do it after October 15th? Aren't we now running counter to the actual regulations of 310 CMR?
What time is it? This afternoon, there was an email from Amanda Davis that sent to Amber, and then we circulated to send it to you too. On that email, it's kind of mentioning in the last paragraph, this practice, along with other points in our March 5th letter, detail the best management practices to protect the river herrings during the alum treatments. If alum treatment were to begin in mid-October, an appropriate monitoring plan shall be coordinated with Amy Cotto and Chris Napper. That's what I mentioned in my conditions.
Okay, but I did not see that. I did not see that email. I went to the microfiche yesterday and I'm looking at it and I'm there. There is nothing here, but it happened today. Sorry. Oh God, never mind.
No, there's a lot of email that coming around.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah, but
Bill's actually on the right track. It was actually very important to bring that up. I feel as your consultant, I need to make you aware of a few things. I'm not in opposition to what you want to do at all. Just understand, we didn't want to, well, I did not feel we needed to be an ecological restoration limited project. DEP felt we did. We went back and forth and it was decided, okay, play ball with them, do what they want us to do. There's a long story with that you don't really need to hear. Either way, it was going through Natural Heritage. Natural Heritage issues conditions. They're very clear about what they want you to do. They throw some other stuff in their letter that aren't part of the conditions, that are their expectations, but you have to decide what you're paying attention to. Division of Marine Fisheries is used to being ignored. They're used to not even being asked to comment, and they're coming out of that, and the DEP regulations from the last update say you've got to ask them. Bill's absolutely right. That clause interprets it that we are to follow their recommendations. That's DEP's edict. It's not Marine Fisheries edict. They're saying their recommendations. DEP saying you have to follow their recommendations. We went back to Marine Fisheries. I gave them 7 reasons why we didn't need to wait till November 15th. They ignored almost every one of them. I have written to Amanda privately to express my disappointments. I'm not mad at you, but this is science and reason have left the building. What they said in their email today was that if you choose to treat around October 15th, we'd like to see a monitoring program to go with that. We would be in violation of what the DEP is telling us, and they could potentially appeal it on their own, but maybe they won't. If we come back with a monitoring program, Amanda or the Division of Marine Fisheries didn't give us any details. The monitoring that gets done typically for this is quite sufficient, and we've never found any alewife mortality from any project in an alewife lake on the Cape, so I don't see the big deal. However, she didn't specify what they would find acceptable. If we come back and say, well, we're just going to monitor for dead alewife, she may say, no, no, no. I want you to monitor to tell me if there are any alewife still in the lake, and if there are, I don't want you to treat. So there could be a hang-up in that. My suggestion to you is allow a treatment in July and August, which is outside of their time of year restrictions. You don't want to do this. They don't want you to do this. That gives you a little bit of a stick for them to accept whatever monitoring there is and say, yeah, all right, go ahead, October 15th. We made our recommendation, but we're okay with this. Just a suggestion. They put you in a very untenable position. I made that clear to them in my follow-up that I really think this is bad interagency conduct, but they're doing what they're doing, and I don't know that we're ever going to change them. But you're correct. If we go ahead with October 15th, we are technically in violation of what DEP is telling us, but Marine Fisheries doesn't seem to mind, although they would like to see a monitoring program, and they have been specific about what goes into it.
Well,
so that's the position we're in.
So the way that I'm reading it's because he's saying that you should coordinate the monitoring plan with Amy Cotto and Chris Napoli.
Right,
so
from Division of Marine Fisheries.
Yep. Somebody would, well, Chris Nappi and Amy Cotto are with the town's natural resource.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So it's a different personnel they make reference to here.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so that's why I think it's easier to work with Amy and Chris to have the monitoring plan. So that's why I was set it October 15th.
yeah, then I think DMF will be off your back. It's just what DEP chooses to do.
Right.
And I think that's a risk to be taken, though. I think this June, July thing really scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. Any more comment on this?
Bill, all I can say is life is complex.
Yeah, it is.
So if not, could I have a motion to approve? Could I have a motion to close the public hearing and approve the projects with those conditions that I just mentioned?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Bye.
Lee,
Aye.
Shampoo.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Good luck, Ken.
Good luck, Ken.
Thank you.
Our next hearing is 6:30 on March the 19th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Bye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangi,
Aye.
Shampoo.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:01.